The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that Clause 5, as amended, stand part of the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. We now come to Clause 6. Point of order, Ms. Eleanor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In respect of Clause 6, the Minister indicated earlier this evening to the House that it is his intention to adopt Amendment 3, which stands in my name, as a government amendment, so that that amendment can be voted upon at this stage in the proceedings, and I have made no objection to the Minister's suggestion because it's the government's right to have a vote if they so wish, and I have every confidence, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that in whatever circumstances the government would win the vote on Clause 3 and indeed on the other, on Amendment 3 and indeed on the other amendments in this group. I have no objection whatsoever to there being a vote, but where the House must take note, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that it's not the vote that matters, it is the fact that there are 7 amendments which have not been discussed, and my purpose in tabling Amendment 3 was not to win a vote or to change the government's mind, but to make sure that this House had an opportunity to discuss the very important issue of thresholds in the forthcoming referendum.
To that point of order, Mr. David Davis.
Mr. Chairman, 2 points arise from that point of order. The first one is, it is normally the convention of this House that the vote follows the voice. So if the government adopts this amendment, does that mean it will support that amendment? The second point that arises is, I hope this is not a mechanism to meet the letter but not the spirit of the government's undertaking, that all important elements of this bill will be debated seriously. This is the single most important component of this bill, the threshold upon which the referendum will carry. So we need to know from the government whether or not they intend to provide us with time to debate this properly at a later stage.
Point of order, Mr. Bill Cash.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I completely endorse what my honourable friend, the member for Hampton Price, has just said, because I too have an amendment down in my own name, amendment number 45, together with several other honourable members, and we have had no opportunity to discuss this, and in the light of the proposal to have Amendment 3 adopted by the government merely for the sake of a vote but without discussion, I would strongly presume, indeed hope, that there would be a proper opportunity to debate this on report, because there are other amendments, numbers 45, number 64 in the name of my honourable friend, the member for Christchurch and others, and it would be completely inappropriate in the light of the fact that the threshold arrangement, for example, on the Scottish devolution arrangements in 1979, led to a very substantial constitutional crisis. Therefore, I would simply ask you, Mr. Chairman, to be sure that the government is made well aware that we wish to have a proper debate on this matter on report.
Tend to call Mr. Choke, Mr. Bryant, and then the Minister, and then that is it. I believe then we will have fully Mr. Choke.
Mr. Evans, thank you. On the 12th of October, the Parliamentary Under-Secretary, in discussing the programme motion, said, we have taken steps in the programme motion to ensure that the House will be able to debate and vote on the key issues raised by the bill. And on second reading, he made it quite clear that we would again have the opportunity to debate and vote on the key issues. Nobody is suggesting that the issue of thresholds is other than a key issue in this bill. And it is open, even at this late stage, for the Minister to tell the House that he will come forward tomorrow with an amendment to the programme motion to ensure that tomorrow we can start the business with a debate upon Clause 6, rather than close down debate on Clause 6 this evening, which seems to be the government's intent. And I'd also like to point out that unless we have a debate, it won't be possible for the House to take a view on the relative merits of Amendments 3 compared with my amendments 64, 65 and 66. And as we had the other night in the European debate, the chair was able to decide which amendments were more worthy to be put to the vote on the basis of the way the debate went. Without a debate, we won't be able to do that.
All right. Mr. Evans, several honourable members have made the point this evening that there has not been time to debate a very important element of this bill. In fact, very significant elements of the bill. And in addition, the government today has tabled 100 pages of amendments to this bill, which it is proposed that we debate next Monday, and it has already said that those amendments are incorrect amendments, which will have to be superseded by further amendments. At the moment, there are only 2 days provided for report stage. I would ask the government to consider providing a 3rd day at report stage so that these issues can be fully debated, because otherwise I'm sure that their lordships would want to take a considerable period of time at looking at this legislation improperly. And finally, Mr. Evans, the right honourable gentleman rightly pointed out that votes normally follow voices in this House. That's to say, if you shout aye, you have to vote aye. If you move aye, you also have to vote aye. And if the honourable gentleman is going to shout in favour of an aye now, then he should be voting in the aye lobby.
The Minister. Mr. Evans, if the honourable gentleman opposite genuinely thought this was the most important part of the bill, then he should have thought about that when he moved some of his less important votes to the vote today, which was a time-wasting exercise and nothing else. Mr. Evans, I gave a clear commitment at second reading that the government would do everything within our power to make sure we had a debate and a vote on all the key issues on this bill. We provided extra time in the programme motion last week. Getting to a debate does, of course, require members to exercise some discipline, which they were incapable of doing today. What is left within my power is to move Amendment 3 to enable the House to vote on it, but I will be asking my colleagues to vote against Amendment 3, but I want to facilitate this House to have the opportunity to vote, and I therefore beg to move Amendment 3.
This moment. Now, I've listened to the several points of order that have been made. What the government proposes to do is orderly, under Standing Order number 83D2, although somewhat unusual, as honourable members have observed. Honourable members will also, I'm sure, have noted the opportunities which may be open to them, as has been remarked on report. I should just remind members of the rule on voice and vote. You can vote against your own amendment, but you cannot shout aye and then vote no. And we're now going to go on to Clause 6. I now call Amendment 3 to be moved formally by a Minister of the Crown. The question is that Amendment 3 be made. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, no, I think. The noes have it. The noes have it. The question is... Order. It's very late, and I suspect that members will now wish to see the conclusion of today's proceedings. The question is that Clause 6... No, the question is that Clause 6, as amended, not amended, stand part of the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. No. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order.
sit again.
Committee to sit again what day?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Whip to move adjourned.
I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Annette Brooke.